Hello everybody and welcome to Level 5. Of course, I'm your host, Level 5. On this channel we talk about all things movies, TV shows, comic books and video games, and today I want to talk about the ending of 911 Lone Star. Of course, if you haven't caught up, you're not going to know what I'm talking about, so, pause the video and go watch the rest of the season. But 911 Lone Star has officially ended, which came as quite a shock to me. I didn't know it was ending until we got to the final couple of episodes. And there's one massive glaring problem that I have with the ending. Don't get me wrong, I understand when a show comes to a point where it has to end. Whether it's directors, writers, the producers of the show, the channel airing it, whatever the case may be, so many things can affect the ending of a show. And I understand that 911 and 911 Lone Star have such a big following, and I adore 911 and 911 Lone Star. I love my crime dramas, to tell the truth. I love things like NCIS, CSI, all their other little spin-offs, and then of course we have things like 911, 911 Lone Star. I love SWAT, I love Law and Order SVU and Law and Order Organised Crime. I adore them. I grew up on those sort of shows. So when it comes to 911 and 911 Lone Star, they, of course, gelled with me straight away. And I love both of them. But 911 Lone Star has cut short and ended now. And I'm okay with the rush job they gave us. They wanted to conclude everyone's storylines. So, of course, we have things like Marjan getting married. Finally, it took her several seasons. That seemed a bit rushed, though. Magically, she just has a man all of a sudden, and things. But I'm really happy that they ended it off with her getting married. She finally has a relationship. I'm really, really glad they did that. Then, of course, we have people together. Most of the characters are in a coupling of some kind. We have the likes of everyone happy and safe and no one dies. We have the case of everyone's in their spot doing exactly what they're doing. We have Judd, of course, going through being an alcoholic because of the lack of grace, which wasn't intentionally the story, but because of Grace's actress's contracting issues when it came to this season, she wasn't able to become, be Grace again. So they wrote her off in a really clever way, and that allowed Judd to go through this different type of character storyline. But they wrapped it up really well. I'm really glad they did that with Judd. Then, of course, we have things like Tommy. Holy crap, I was scared when they did the stuff to Tommy. Holy fuck, that scared the living daylights out of me. But that was such a good set of episodes for Tommy. She's alone, she doesn't want to scare her daughters, all this good entertaining things. And then of course we have the likes of, Owen. He may have to leave to get a better job. He's the voice of reason. He's argued for the little people, the people that go off and fight the fires, the people who go off and help people. He's been that type of character. He's the voice of reason, and they want, is it chief director or something? That's his title now. He leaves and goes to New York and becomes chief director, allowing Judd to become the captain of the firehouse. We have all these amazing storylines. We have Carlos and TJ adopting TJ's little brother and becoming dads of sorts. Amazing. Such an amazing set of storylines that ended. Yes, okay, it was rushed, and you can tell it was rushed, but I'm happy with the way that all of these characters' storylines concluded. Except for one. What about my man Paul? Where is his ending? I'm confused on what happened with Paul, and the really weird thing is they actually set something up that could have gone somewhere, but at the very last scene when everyone's, partying and things, and you kind of see, what's been going on because they did a time skip for the last scene. Where's Paul's ending? Nothing happens with Paul. Nothing at all. And, oh my god, I thought, no, just no. Where's Paul's ending? Let me run it back a second. So we have a couple of episodes where you can tell it's building up to the end of the season. Now, obviously, at watching this, I didn't know it was going to be the end of the show, but it was the end of the show. So you have Paul, who helps out a kid who is danger-driven. He's, Dennis the Menace type of character. He's going around and he's doing stupid stunts for views. He's getting himself into danger for views, hurting himself because of these acts and things, and Paul helps him out. Obviously, they save him first, but Paul helps him out. And Paul even says, hey, we could use someone like you, someone who has this drive, this ambition, this gut, come to the firehouse and I'll give you a tour. And then when the massive season finale, oh my god, moments were happening, the kid actually came to the firehouse and Paul had to, get him under the truck because a meteor was coming down. Now, that could have been something. That could have been the ongoing point for Paul's character. We could actually maybe seen the kid be a waiter for the party, or at least mentioned, or something. Maybe Paul's helping out trans kids, because Paul's a trans character. There's nothing relationship-wise for Paul. Paul was dating a woman at some point throughout the show. There's multiple things they could have done. Paul never mentions siblings or having children, or nothing happens for Paul's character, and that's where it lost me. Every character got a really sweet moment, for the whole end of the last episode. It made you believe Owen died, but it just turns out Owen moved to New York. So even Owen got his happy ending. Everyone got a happy ending of some kind, other than Paul. And Paul's been a really big voice for, trans people. But not only that, he's been a very important character for the last couple seasons. Owen wasn't able to have a second in command after Judd leaves, so Paul becomes second in command. And Paul has this whole episode where he's struggling with, I've been these people's best friend, and I don't want to command them. I that feels wrong to me, so he tries to make everyone comfortable. But all of his friends are like, but no, you're in command, you're meant to command us. So it takes the whole episode dedicated to Paul, where he's struggling with commanding his friends and being a friend. And he has to find the equal balance, he has to do his job. Keep people safe, because his job is to keep the firefighters safe as well, not only the people that they're saving, but the firefighters too, and the first aids, and the medics and all that. His job is to make sure everyone's doing their job and helping out, and taking over for Owen when Owen's not available, and then of course being their best friend, and he's finding the issue, balancing between the two. That's such a good episode for Paul's character. But then you have nothing for the ending. I would have liked to seen something on the lines of that kid, coming back, and Paul shows him the firehouse, and he gives a tour, and we see, maybe the kid's like, hey, I'm a bit young to join, become a firefighter, but is there anything I can do now? And then Paul's like, okay, here, take my number, or take this, and if you see anything in trouble, call this, and it'll give you, maybe it was Carlos's number, or something. Give this kid something to do. Or go down the trans route. Now, of course, I know the whole trans thing isn't for everybody, but Paul is a trans character, and that's what they've written him as. And they could have made it so Paul had a trans group. Maybe for teens who aren't respected by their parents. Maybe trans kids who have run away. Or something. Allow Paul to be the voice for the trans community in the show. Give Paul something to do for the trans community. It'd be really cool to see. I see a support group. That's how I see it. A support group for Paul. That Paul can get all these teenagers to sit down and talk about their issues. Being a trans person, not being accepted by their peers, parents, teachers, whatever the case may be. And all this stuff. It'd been really cool to see Paul at least have some form of an ending, but he doesn't get one. And that's a real shame, because Paul is a really cool, fun-loving character, and honestly, he's just one of the joys of watching the show. Anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling now, but I do want to ask you guys, did you enjoy the ending of 911 Lone Star, and did you like everyone's characters, minor story arcs within this last season? And are you sad that it's ended? Would you want another season? And, of course, how would you end Paul's storyline? What would you done for Paul so Paul had a better ending than what he had? That being said, of course, let me know what you guys think of 911 Lone Star, 911. Do you watch those shows as well? Hit the like button if you haven't already, subscribe if you're new, and hit that notification bell so you guys don't miss another video. We're of passion, everybody, and I shall see you guys in the next one. Bye.